Okay, last section of chapter 8, 8.4. Now if you notice, the difference for this section will be x's on both sides of the equal sign. So you just combine like terms like we did in chapter 5 and chapter 7. Same steps, just now it's a little bit longer than it has been in the past. First example, again you're going to have fractions and decimals. You won't see whole numbers a whole lot, but we'll start with fractions. So you have g and g. Now, it doesn't matter what side of the equal sign you bring your variables to, you just need to make sure you have variables on one side and the constant terms without a variable, such as the 5, on the other side of the equal sign. So, to do that in this question, we are going to subtract 2.5 g from both sides. So it cancels on the right, leaving you with -5 and -3.25 g on the left. Now, final step, you just move that up a little, is to get g by itself. So we will divide by -3.25, because again it's being multiplied by g. So your final answer, negative by negative, will give you a positive number, 1 and 7/13. There's your final answer for the first example. Now you can, in your book, stop and do number 6 on page 327. It's A, B, C, D. Please make sure you check your answers in the back of the book. There are 2 fractions and 2 decimal questions. Second example now. Now you have 4 terms and 2 sets of like terms. You have 2 C terms, again make sure you keep the sign that's in front, and 2 constant terms without a variable that you need to combine. Again, it doesn't matter what side you bring your C terms to and your constant terms to, just make sure you have one on either side. It is easier if you try and keep things positive, but again it doesn't matter. In this case, to try and keep numbers positive, we will add 16.2 to both sides. So make the equal sign here. So it cancels on the right, leaving you with 31.5 times C. Then to move the 4.3 over, we will subtract it. This is going to get a little crowded here. So to move 4.3, subtract and subtract. So it cancels there on the left, leaving you with 12.6 on the right. Now, final step to get C on its own. Divide both sides by 31.5. Oh, not C. Let's divide by 31.5 from both sides. So it cancels here and there. And your final answer for C will be 0.4. This example, we're actually going to end up seeing these numbers when we get to the problem, so I'm going to leave it alone for now. So in your textbook, on page 327, you can work on number 8. Okay, last type of question with just straight numbers before we get to problem solving. Now we're adding distributive property through, so it's still the same way to solve it, you're just adding another step, so this takes up a little bit more space on your page. To begin with, you have two sets of brackets with a number in front that's being multiplied, so you will use the distributive property twice. So 1/4 gets multiplied through, and then 1/3 will get multiplied through. So 1/4 multiplied by 3x will be 3/4 times x. 1/4 times 1 is just 1/4. So there's the left side finished. And then on the right, 1/3 times 4x will be 4/3x minus, because you keep the same signs that are in front, 5/3. Now you're just looking at combining like terms. So you have an x term on the left and an x term on the right side of the equal sign. And then again, you have two constant terms. Make sure you're paying attention to positive and negative signs, particularly when you're using your calculator. So this time, to try and keep things positive, we will subtract 3/4x from both sides. So it cancels on the left, leaving you with 7/12 times x. And then moving x to the right means we need to move the constant term to the left. So we will add 5/3 to both sides. So that cancels now on the right. And you're left with 1 and 11/12. So final step now is to have x on its own, and you've done this plenty of times by now to know that you will divide by 7/12, divide by 7/12, leaving you with just x on the right. So your final answer is 3 2/7. Last part before we get to problem solving, again in your textbook, same page, work through number 10, A, B, C, and D. Again, pay particular attention to 10D, and please check your answer. Alright, two problems to work through. The first one is another piggy bank problem, just like you saw in the 8.3 provincial exam questions. For this one, it'll be hopefully a little bit simpler than that. A piggy bank contains dimes and nickels, and there are 30 more nickels than dimes. If the value of the nickels is the same as the value of the dimes, then how many dimes and nickels are in the piggy bank? Now to begin with, you have nickels and dimes. You only want one variable, so we're going to let D be the number of dimes, and then D plus 30 be the number of nickels, because it says in the question there are 30 more nickels than there are dimes. So to solve these types of questions, you will always have two different types of information equal to one another. So on the left side we will have dimes equal to nickels. Now, to begin to build your equation, you know you have dimes on the left, and the number of nickels are 30 more than the number of dimes, so we have D plus 30. Now the only thing to add here is in the end, it says we're looking at value. Actually use a bigger arrow. You're looking at the value. So that means you need to know how much a dime and a nickel are worth. So a dime is obviously worth 10 cents. And we're going to put these in brackets because you're never going to escape distributive property, and multiply by 0.05. So cleaned up, it looks like this. Again, you will start by using distributive property to multiply the 0.05 times d and then times 30. So the left-hand side of the equal sign stays as it is for now, equals 0.05 times d becomes just that, and then 0.05 times 30 will be 1.5. Now hopefully this looks similar to what we've been doing already. Combine the like terms, so subtract the 0.05d from the right and from the left. So on the right hand side we're left with 1.5, and on the right we have 0.05d. Finally, the last step, divide both sides by 0.05. So again, you always want to isolate the variable, so now we can isolate d. So divided together, that cancels. You're left with d equaling to 30. So there are 30 dimes, which means the number of nickels was 30 more. So you have 60 nickels. And as a final check, you can make sure they are worth the same amount. 30 dimes is $3. 60 nickels is $3. So you've answered this correctly. Last one. Now I know these numbers aren't right, and PlayStation doesn't offer an annual membership you have to pay for, and you don't rent games, and all the other stuff you all told me. Deal with it and just work through the question. So, Xbox in this magical world charges $4 for every game you play, plus 25 cents a month. The PS3 offers an annual membership of $22.50 with a cost per game of $2.75. What is the least number of games played needed in a year to make the annual membership a better deal? And I don't know why there's a 0 there, but it's gone now. So we're going to let X be the number of games played, or you can use G for games, or N, or any letter you choose. So on the left hand side of the equal sign you have Xbox. On the right you will have PlayStation 3. Okay, it doesn't matter what side of the equal sign you chose, I just went through the question in order. So, first thing to pay close attention to is this is annual. Okay, we'll put it right there. The word annual means yearly, so you need to look at 25 cents a month and figure out what that costs over the course of the year. So for the Xbox side, $4 a game times whatever the number of games are that are played, we don't know, plus 25 cents a month times 12 months and a year, because it's annual. For the PlayStation, the membership per year is $22.50, and this will be a little bit off to the side, and it's $2.75 per game. I'll just move this back. You know the $2.75 is there, we'll clean it up right away. So 0.25 times 12 will be 3, so we can just rewrite everything else. So 4x plus 3 equals $22.50 plus $2.75, and we fit it all nicely on the screen this time. Okay, so now we simply solve for x. So we will bring the 2.75x, subtract it from both sides, so you can cancel it on the right, leaves you with 1.25x, and then on the left we will subtract 3 from both sides, leaving that to cancel, leaving you with 1950. And your final step to get x isolated will be to divide by 1.25 on both sides. So cancels on the left. So final answer is 15.6. So the point at which the PlayStation is the better deal, because that's the annual membership, will be when you order the 16th game. Because once you've played 15.6 games, it's even. So once you order the 16th game in the course of a year, PlayStation is the better deal. Okay, here is your homework. Again, I know it looks like a lot, but you've been working as we went through the notes, I'm sure. So you've done 6, 8, and 10, which leaves these 5 that are only problems. So it's 5 questions. It shouldn't take you more than about 15 minutes. Again, if you have questions, bring them to me in class. And we are nearly finished Chapter 8.